Last year was different. This year.
Doesn't that just bring a tear to your eye? Thank you, Nifty. And right next door, or tied onto the end, is Discovery number 2, and she's a big boat. We're 156 feet long, 34 feet wide. We weigh 280 tons, and we only sink down in this river 39 inches. Isn't that amazing for something this heavy? Well, I find it reassuring looking at all of you. In the modern day, we fly a lot. Those of you that have been watching these so-called reality shows, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. You've all heard about bush pilots, you've read about them. Well, here's the first surprise. You're going to meet one. And this guy is reality. Steve Knatzer, he's going to fly for you in just a second. But I want to tell you a little bit before Steve takes off on the water about the tradition and this real estate on the left. Now take a good look. As you watch him do this, he's been working 60 carefully at the river. He's kind of looking out the side. Looks like he's going to land on the gravel, but no such thing. Now watch his hang time. This is my favorite part. He will gently set it down, just like an Olympic diver. The key here is small splash. So watch this. Oh, look at that. Oh. Just kissed the surface. I'd give him a 9.9 on that.
Got that?
I would, yes indeed. I think the Czechoslovakian judge would have given him a 9.9 on that one. Steve Knatzer. So we'll see what kind of a mood he's in, and I bet I know you're going to enjoy hearing this guy's story. Absolutely. I know you like these cool temperatures, and the sun in your eyes isn't bad. Now, can you tell these nice people how you got started flying, please?
Sure. I was raised out west in Alaska along the Yukon River. I've been piloting these aircraft since I was a teenager. My dad was a pilot instructor. We also had left dogs out on the Yukon for transportation. Tried my hand at the Iditarod race in 1980. And in 91, I moved to Fairbanks and became an aircraft mechanic. So now I'm not flying these aircraft. I'm working on them. I'm keeping them in the air.
So we never let truth get in the way of a good story. I heard you found this airplane in the bushes. Now, is that true or is that a story?
That's not true. Over 20 years ago, I found this aircraft on the side of the road with brush and weeds growing up around.
All right, now one more takeoff here in the same position if you'd like to get another picture. And might get a little wind wave here when he comes abreast of us, so give him a big wave, Steve. That's it. People who have lived in this valley for 12,000 years. There have been people here for 12,000 years. I think those of you going to the dredge this afternoon, the gold dredge, you're going to learn about that technique. But they took water out of this Chena River. We're only getting $16 to $18 in miners buried deep in the ground. They ever heard me say on the radio in the morning. But that thing made a mess. So today when we mine gold at the end of the second deck in the trading post. So gang, this is one of the first log houses that was built on the rock house in the back. That's a satellite dish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why, they must have modernized. Of course, are great technology, too. They rebuilt it. Hey, good morning, Jack. He's back home and glad to see him. And Jack has a great sign on his lawn that says that he is an American by birth and an Alaskan by choice. Good morning, sir. Jack McManus. Anybody from Madison, Wisconsin?
Just to follow with the lead dog because that's for the first time.
You got a lead dog in this litter. One little puppy went around the wall.
You know, things have to come together, and then the team and succeed. Make sure that going nearly this well if every dog wasn't doing at least a step. Here we are, we're around the corner, and they have to conserve energy just like marathon runners do. And pet them if you like. So between the two of us, if you have questions, I bet we have the answers.
Just like we put on a parka. Every hair strand is hollow inside. There's air trapped in there. So that keeps them warm like the goose down in our parkas could be under 6 feet of snow 7 months out of the year. Well, they've learned to dig down into the snow with those big feet and graze like it wasn't there. And they can feed themselves just fine. You're headed to the drying rack before the smokehouse. This is the way you do it.
Yep. We like to hang it on the air drying rack for most of the day until it develops a sheen or a glaze. Keep in mind, families do things a little bit differently here in Alaska, but here we'll rotate it into the smokehouse for about 2 weeks until it's fully dehydrated, weighs less than a pound, and looks like this.
Wow. And I want to say thank you to our village fans who've done an outstanding job getting the village cleaned up. But it's not enough of the young people on this one. Very young when she got here to go to college. But what a great story. Mary B., the first ticket taker, the first commentator.
In a little creek about 6 miles east of us as the Raven flag, and it was that discovery that launched a massive stampede of thousands of folks coming up from the States and the Klondike, Canada, in search of that precious yellow metal. Now these stampeders, these quintessential Alaskan sourdough miners, would typically bring just whatever it was they could carry and nothing more. Miners would get lucky, hit the jackpot, and strike it rich. Usually, however, they would lose their shirts broke. And it's an emergency reference to the Alaskan sourdough miner for safety purposes. Again, we're talking about dealing with frozen permafrost here. If it's allowed to warm up and thaw out, it's the buckets back up and run them along these cables here, like you see, all the way up to that pole called the gin pole. Well, eventually the buckets would catch, swivel, dump their load, then come coasting back down empty to bang into these logs here and be reset for the next load. Just about something anyway. You get the picture like that. But all these guys are pretty much just going after all the big stuff. The large nuggets and the larger flakes. They didn't have the incentives, the efficiencies. Now on the screens right now is an animation. Give you an aerial view of that dredge and how she would function. As we pull up alongside it, I want to point out the spool of that power cable I mentioned a moment ago. 3-phase, 3-conductor. 1 foot of that cable weighs about 7 pounds. It's hooked up and powered the dredge even today. Of course, we've stepped it down to 110 volts. It just runs the lights and videos on board these days. So as we pull up alongside and park next to this dredge, in a moment here, I'm going to turn it over to this gal. Her name is Yukon Yonda. She's got decades.
Plenty of water and shake. Now folks, when we shake this side to side, be aggressive with it. Okay? Have a seat and wait for it. Lever right, yes, we call those lever right there in the water. There. Plenty of water and shake it up. It is extremely important, folks, that you shake this well. If you get it, once that goes on the bottom of your hand, that gold is going to stay there.
That's been set aside. That's what
Bye-bye that group, folks. Good night, guys. See you in the morning. We got some more history to share with you on the way back to the station. first, and that is, why did that gold dredge shut down?